slope-intercept form. Okay, so number or on the top of your sheet, so you do need to take notes on this today, please. So, y equals mx plus b. This is the formula for a line. This is the formula for a line. So whenever I ask, what's the formula for a line? It's y equals mx plus b. Does anybody remember what the m stands for? Very good. Slope. M is your slope. M is the number that's with the x. So whatever number is with the x is your slope. What's the other word for slope we talked about? Good. Rate of change. So both of those are the m. That's what m stands for. So they just pick that letter. M stands for the slope and the rate of change. Okay? Does anybody know what the b stands for? Very good. The y-intercept. And there's one other word for y-intercept. Starting value. Okay, and b is also a number. Okay? So, m is always beside the x. Okay? And it's the number that gives you your slope or your rate of change. The b is the number that doesn't have the x, and it gives you the y-intercept and the starting value. Okay? All right. So, this first one, just ignore these numbers right here because they're messed up. Okay. What I want you to put is m equals and b equals. M equals and b equals. All right. What does m stand for? What word? Slope. Okay, so m is the slope. They just picked that letter. Okay, I don't know why. But the way I remember is mountains have slope. Okay, so m is your slope. Which one of these numbers is the slope number? 5. Why is 5 the slope? Because it's beside the x. So 5 is your slope. So m equals 5. That's all we're writing. What does b stand for? What word? Y-intercept. Which one of these numbers is the y-intercept? -3, because it doesn't have the x. Okay? All right. Jumping over here. M equals and b equals. Okay? What does the m stand for? What word? Slope. Now, be careful. What do you think's your slope on this one? Very good. There's a 1 with the x, so your slope is 1. Okay? So the slope is 1. All right, what does b stand for? All right, b stands for the y-intercept, and b is 2. Okay? B is 2. All right, down here at the bottom, I'm sorry, on your paper it's not at the bottom. All right, y equals -1/2 x. So what does m stand for? What word? Slope. What number is the slope? -1/2. So this whole number is your slope because it's beside the x. Now, what do you think I could add on to this? What's missing? What number do you think? What could I put right here? A 0. So the y-intercept is 0. The y-intercept is 0. So m is -1/2 and b is 0. Okay? All right, we're skipping 4 and 5 for now. We're coming back to them. Please remind me at the end. Please remind me to come back to those. Okay. Now, number 6. We are going to, in a minute, not right now, in a minute, we're going to put what m and b equals. However, we cannot say what m equals and b equals yet because it's not in y equals mx plus b form yet. So, to use m and b, it has to be in y equals form. It has to be in y equals format. So on this one, It was in y equals, so we could just go ahead and say the answer. This one was in y equals, so we could go ahead and do the answer. This next one is not in y equals form yet, so we have to draw our line and circle y. We have to get it in y equals format. So we got to draw our line and circle y. Who's best friends with y? -3. So who moves first? Who needs to move? 2x. Now, this is just one person. Okay, think about it like a first and last name. This is Blake Bullens, all right? It's just one person. So we're going to move this whole person at one time. All right, 2x, is it positive or negative? So when it comes over here, it is. And guys, I want you to write it out to the side, and it'll make sense in a minute while we're doing that. So we're putting 12 minus 2x. Now, does 12 minus 2x give us 10x? No, I can't put these together. Why not? Number and an x, right? So we just leave it like that. Now, we're still trying to get y by itself. Who's with y now? -3. Be careful with that negative. It'll mess you up. It'll trip you up. This is multiply. So what's the opposite of multiply? Now, I want you to divide each number by -3 today. I want you to divide each number by -3. Okay, we're almost done. Drop down the y. Drop down the equals. And you are going to simplify a little bit. What's 12 divided by -3? -4. Now, will 2 divide by 3? So just leave it a fraction. However, what's a negative over a negative? So put a plus, but leave it a fraction, 2 over 3, because I don't want a decimal. So 2 over 3. What goes beside of it? X. Okay. Now, remember, it doesn't matter what order it's written in. M is my slope, and M is always with the what? X. Very good. So M is 2 over 3. M is the number that's beside the X. Whatever number's beside the X is your M. So what would my B be? -4. So write that down. M equals 2 over 3, and B is -4. All right, you'll get the hang of that in a minute. I know it's new. All right, so on this next one, I have to put it in y equals format. So I'm going to draw my line and circle y. You can't do anything till it's in y equals format. All right, Stephen, who needs to move to the other side first? Very good. And it's positive, so over here it's going to be, and I'm going to put the X with it because that's its first and last name. It's one person, so it moves together. 4X moves as 1, so a minus 4X, okay? All right, anybody, what's still with the Y? Very good. So what number can I put right here? Okay, put a -1 right there. Destiny, how can I get rid of the -1? Very good. This is multiply, so the opposite of multiply is to divide by -1. So y equals, Andrew, what is 3 divided by -1? -3. And Ashley C, what's -4 divided by -1? Positive. Negative over negative turns into a positive. And you got to put your X with it. Okay? All right. Now I'm going to do M equals and B equals. All right, Ross, which one of those numbers is my M? It's +4. Do you see why it's positive? Negative over negative? Okay. +4. And Odin, what would my B be? So M is always the number with the X. Mountains have slope, so M is your slope. All right, any questions on those two? All right, number 8. All right, I'm going to draw my line and circle Y. It's got to be in Y equals format. It's got to be in Y equals format. This one, there's lots of things that need to move. It doesn't matter what order you do them in. Anybody, what do you want to move to the other side first? All right. Okay, you can move the x first. I heard someone say the 6, so I'm going to go with that. How do I get rid of plus 6? Now, here's the thing. This is kind of like a challenge problem. It might be a bonus or something, so don't stress about it, okay? But those of you who are thinking about going to honors, this is definitely a good question to pay attention to. Can I put these two together? Yeah, what's 0 minus 6? So those two can go together and gives you negative 6. Okay, so again, don't stress about this problem. I'm just trying to talk you through it. All right, what else needs to move away from the y? Very good. The x moves next. So how do you get rid of the x? Minus it. And I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 with it. I encourage you to do that as well. Minus 1x. Okay. All right, Summer, how do you get rid of the negative 2? Very good. Divide each thing by negative 2. So I'm going to get y equals. All right, guys, you need to simplify this a little bit. Will 6 divide by 2? Yeah, what is it? And a negative over a negative is a positive, so it's positive 3. Can 1 divide by 2? Leave it a fraction, 1/2. And you have to decide if it's positive or negative. A negative over a negative is a. And what else needs to go here? X. Okay. All right. Mateen, what would my M be on this one? Very good. M is always from the X. And so B is 3. B is 3. All right. Any questions? Okay. Now we're going to talk about how we graph. So, M, what is M in words? Slope. What is B in words? What's the other word for B? What? Starting value. Okay, so you got your slope and you got your y-intercept and your starting value. Which one do you think we're going to start with? Which one do you think we're going to start with? The 4. That's why it's called the starting value, because you start with it, okay? So you're going to start with this number 4. You're going to put it on the y. That's where that name comes from. The y-intercept is because you put it on the y. So here's the y. So put a point at 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody do that now before I do the next step. Everybody put a point at 4 on the y. Okay. Now, you're going to start from here. Remember, slope is rise over run. So you need to have 2 numbers. So put a 1 underneath it. In math, you can always put a 1 underneath something to make it a fraction. The reason we wanted a fraction is so we can do rise over run, which is what you do on a graph. Okay, now, I know you're just going to have to think with me. Okay, you're just going to have to think with me. If it's negative, do you think we go up 2 or do you think we go down 2? We go down 2. Okay, so I know it's a lot to think about, but y'all can do it. So you start here, you go down 2, and then you run over 1. So you start here, go down 2, and you always go right when you're running. You always go right. Think about that, running right. They both start with R's. And then there's your line. All right. Does anybody need me to say that again? Okay, we're going to do more of these. Bless you. Okay, so here we got our slope. So this is rise over run. And we have our starting value and our y-intercept. So all those things help me process what to do. Okay, so those are all helpful things to think about. So, guys, which one of these do we start with? Yeah, thank you, the negative 3. Does it go on the x or does it go on the y? It goes on the y. So I put a point at negative 3. That means down. So I put a point at negative 3. So that's what you do first. Put a point at negative 3. Okay? All right, then from here, I rise 1. What does it mean to rise 1? Go up 1, and you run right. So you go over 3. Okay? Yep. Not yet. All right. This next one, all right, which number do I start with? Okay, so I put a point at 2. Now remember, zero slope is a special one. Remember, zero slope is special. How does zero slope go? Molly's got it. How does zero slope go? Straight across. Think about this. Make you a Z. Zero slope. So it goes straight through it. So this is what this line looks like right here. It goes straight across. It's special. Okay, straight across at 3. Number 12. We got 3x plus 2y equals 4. Anybody know what we have to do first on this one? Very good. Very good, very good, very good. You got to draw your line and solve it. And we're solving for y. So before you do anything, you have to put it in y equals format. Nadia, what needs to move to the other side? And I do what with it? All right. Devin, what else needs to move? And how do you do that? You do what? Divide 2. No. So remember, so how about Abby? Give me a go here. Y equals what? What would I put next? 2? What about here? Does 3 divide by 2? So I'll leave it a fraction. Negative 3 over 2x. Negative divided by positive is a negative. Okay? All right, Ashley B. What is my M and my B? M is always with the x. So what is your M? And what's your B? 2. Okay? All right. All right, now we're ready to graph it. Molly, which one of these goes on the graph first? The 2, and it goes on the Y. Tyler, what do I do from the 2? Very good. All right, next one, number 13. Caitlin, what do I do first? Yep. So draw my line and circle Y. Devin, what happens next? Yep. Good. Subtract it. Abby, what do I do after subtract the 4x? Divide by what? Divide by. There you go. Negative 3. Guys, that'll get you. Got to pay attention to that negative right there. All right. Mateen, give this a shot. What would my y equals be? What? Close. 12 divided by 3. All right, so negative 4. What about here? Can you divide 4 by 3? No, but what can you do? And will it be a positive or negative? Yep. Okay, let's do our M equals and B equals. Nadia, what would your M be? Good. And your B would be negative 4. All right, Blake, which one of these goes on the graph first? Good. All right, Ashley C., what do I do from the negative 4? What does this tell me to do? Very good. All right, number 14. Ross, what do I do first? Good. Ashley B., what do I write next? Very good. And she put her 1 in there, which I like. Thank you. And Andrew, what do you have to do next? Very good. So y equals, Odin, what would my y equals be? Uh-huh. Very good. 4 minus 1/2 x. All right, Summer, what is my m and my b? Oh, uh-huh. And what's my b? 4. Okay. All right, Steven, which one of these goes on the graph first? Mm-hmm. So what number is that? Uh-huh. So I go up 4. And then what do I do with this, Steven? How do I go? All right, so you go down first. So down 1 and then right 2. Okay? So down 1 over 2. All right, I'll come back to this if mine needs me to. Number 15. Tyler, what do I do first? Uh-huh. What else do I do, Tyler? All right, what else? Good. Molly, what else did you have to do on this one? Divide by? Divide by? -1. Don't let that get you. All right, so y equals, we're going to talk about what happens here. Let me just show you step by step first. What's 0 divided by -1? Just 0. -4 divided by -1. +4. Okay, now, I'm not going to take off points for that. But if it was a multiple choice question, the answer would be y equals 4x. So you would need to know to recognize that if it was a multiple choice question. It would be y equals 4x. Okay? So you can leave it like this. I won't take off points, but if it's multiple choice, y equals 4x. Now, here's where you have to be careful. What is my m? 4, because it's with the x. So 4 is my m. What is my b? 0. My b is 0. Now, which one of these goes on the graph first? 0, because it's my starting value. So I put a point at 0. You're allowed to do that. You can put a point at 0. Now, again, this one you got a lot of things to remember. M is rise over run. All I have right now is a 4. I need another number. You put a 1 under it. So I rise 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I run 1. Rise 4, run 1. Run 1. Up 4 over 1. Okay. All right. What do you notice about this bad boy? There's no X. There's no X. So it's missing some of its marbles, all right? It's not shooting whatever that saying is, all right? So it's missing an X, all right? It's like if you were missing half your brain, all right? Like some, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so you're missing an X. This one's special. Special lines either go like this or like this, okay? So what is it missing? So you know it's going to look like one of these. It's special, okay? So you're going to draw your line and circle Y like we always do. But what's the only number that needs to move? How do I move it? Divide it. So I get Y equals -2. So what I need to do is put -2 on the Y like I always do. I'm going to put -2 on the Y. But I'm not going to do any sort of rise or run because there's no slope. Good. All right. So, oh, sorry. Not no slope. Sorry. Forget I said that. So, -2. Blake said it, straight across. Because, guys, you don't want to draw a line where there already is one. There's already an axis here. So draw your line straight across. What kind of slope is that? So M is 0. 0 slope. All right, so M is 0 slope. What does B stand for? What does it stand for? Y-intercept. And the y-intercept is -2. Okay, so M equals 0. Make sure you have that written on your paper so you can go back and look at that later. M is 0, B is -2. All right. Number 17. What do you notice first off about this one? No Y. All right. -2. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line, but I can't circle Y. There isn't one. So on this one, you have to get X by itself. It's the only one, okay, because there's no Y. What do I need to do to get X by itself? Then what? -5. So X equals -5 because 0 minus 5 is -5. So X equals -5. Now, guys, this one is special. We're doing it different. We're treating it different. It's a special little puppy, okay? This time, you're going to put -5 on the X because there is no Y. I can't say that enough. There's no Y. You can't put it on the Y if there is no Y. So you need to put -5 on the X. This is the X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, again, you know it's either going to do this or do this because it's special. There's already a line here. So instead of going straight across, we need to go up and down. Now, you're really going to have to pay attention. Think. Y'all are all capable of doing this. What kind of slope is this one? No slope. So, on the quiz on Friday, when it has M equals and there's a blank, what do you think you have to write in the blank? No slope. Now, here I guarantee you, half the class is going to miss this one. They always do. What does B stand for? What word? Y-intercept. Where does this one cross the Y? There's none. Yep, there's none. You could put NA if you wanted. I guarantee you, M equals and B equals. There's 2 ways to do this. Now, one way is to remember the shortcut. Always remember Yoxen. Okay? I remember Yoxen. This is what I use for special cases. So I do a shortcut. For special cases, I do Yoxen. What it stands for is if it's Y equals, it's going to be 0 slope. If it's Y equals a number, I should say. If it's Y equals a number, it's 0 slope. If it's X equals a number, it's no slope. Okay, so that's a little shortcut that I use, Yoxen. So in this case, it's Y equals a number. So according to Yoxen, what is the slope? 0. And the y-intercept is just 3. Okay? Now, if you don't want to remember Yoxen, if you don't like that, then on your paper, you could do a little sketch. You could go up to 3, and then you could process through it if you wanted. So the slope is 0, y-intercept is 3. Okay? All right. This one, X equals a number. I'm going to use Yoxen. So what does Yoxen say for X equals a number? It is no slope. Whenever it's no slope, the B is also none. The B is also none. These always go together. They're a pair. Okay? All right. So Yoxen is what I use for special cases. Yoxen. These last 3 are really easy. What is difference between line A and line B? So what is different about them? Thank you, Blake. They have different y-intercepts. So that's the answer to that. When it says describe the differences, well, they have different y-intercepts. So one has a -3, one has a +1. Okay? All right. This next one, I'll go back to that if you missed it. What is different on this one? Well, this one technically does. What is it?
0.
So again, what do they have that's different? Different y-intercepts. I'll come back. Okay. Somebody other than Ashley or Nadia or Blake. What about this last one? What's different about him? Very good, Summer. Different slope. These have different slopes. That one's +3 and that one is -3. All right. There are Oyo